My sister and I were both princesses of a fallen kingdom. On the night our city collapsed, enemy soldiers stormed into the palace. Their eyes were filled with hunger. In that instant, my younger sister pushed me forward. She thought I would die. But fate twisted cruelly. I was seized by the enemy Prince Andrew and taken to his tent. He spared me, claimed me, and soon raised me as his consort. My sister Emily was not so fortunate. She was thrown into slavery. Each day was pain and humiliation. Hatred consumed her until she killed me. And when the blade struck, we both awakened again, reborn at the very moment of our kingdom's fall. This time, Emily ran first to the enemy soldiers. "Sister," she whispered in my ear, trembling with triumph, "this time the prince's consort will be me." She did not know. I never wished to be a consort. If I carried the blood of a princess, then my fate was not to bow. My destiny was to restore my country and rule as empress. Chapter 1. A Blood-Red Moon. The moon rose, stained with blood. Far away, the cries of agony fell silent one by one. The men were all dead. Those left alive were the women huddled in this tent. Each young face around me was filled with despair and terror. Once, we had been the most honored daughters of the palace, treasured like jewels. Now, our fathers and brothers lay butchered by Andrew's iron cavalry. Shackles cut into our wrists. We were thrown inside like lambs awaiting slaughter. The flap lifted. Soldiers stepped inside, tall and broad, their bodies drenched in the stench of blood. Their mouths curled in filthy smiles. At last, we can taste the noble ladies of the South. There are princesses here too. I wonder if a princess screams sweeter than a common wench. The girls burst into tears. Some cried for their parents. Others tried to kill themselves. In the midst of the chaos, one voice rang out, "I will go with you." The speaker was Emily. And in that moment, I knew. She too had returned from death. Chapter 2. A Memory Reborn. In my past life, the same scene had unfolded. The soldiers entered the tent, grabbing and dragging. Emily hid in the back, shoving others forward. A child, only 8, stumbled to the front. I rose and shielded her. "Take me instead." They did. The rest escaped. As I was dragged away, I heard Emily's relieved whisper. "Thank heavens it was Alice." Another girl snapped at her. "Alice gave her life for us. You are a princess too. Where is your duty?" Emily shouted back. "How dare you compare me to her? I am father and mother's only daughter. She is the child of a maid. She is nothing beside me." She thought me doomed, but fate shifted. As the soldiers pulled me through the forest, Prince Andrew rode by. He saw me, claimed me, and that night I became his concubine. He cherished me. He soon named me his side consort. Andrew was powerful, tall, and striking, the most desired man of the western lands. When he ascended the throne, I was destined to be his favored consort. Emily, meanwhile, was thrown among the slaves. She ate fodder meant for animals. Her hands blistered with blood from endless work. She had never endured hardship before. Hatred burned in her heart. One day, when I went to see the slaves, she killed me. She never knew. I had planned to save them all. But now, we both lived again. Emily eagerly followed the soldiers, whispering in my ear, "Watch me, sister. I will be more beloved than you." Chapter 3. The Consort's Game. Emily's guess was right. As before, Prince Andrew came to patrol. He saw her, hair loose, tears glistening, her beauty sharpened by sorrow. He stopped the soldiers and lifted her into his arms. For 3 nights he remained with her. Emily copied me, wearing sorrow as a mask. In my past life, after Andrew claimed me, I never smiled. My grief for our lost kingdom was too heavy. Desperate, Andrew tried foolish things, even lighting beacons for amusement, just to see my smile. Now Emily did the same. She kept her face full of sorrow. Andrew was entranced again. He declared, "Whoever makes Princess Emily smile shall be rewarded with gold." A month later, we reached the enemy capital. The noble daughters of the South became slaves. I was given light duty, pouring tea for Andrew. One day, I lowered my head, offering cups to him and Emily. As I handed her a cup, she let it slip. The tea spilled across her dress. Emily cried out. Andrew's face darkened. "Feed this slave to the dogs." All knew Andrew's temper, fierce and cruel. In my past life, he offered gold just for my smile. In this one, he condemned me at once. Before I could speak, Emily knelt. "She is from my homeland. Though clumsy, I beg the prince to spare her life." Andrew paused, then said coldly, "Since you plead for her, she will be sent to the stables." Emily smiled at me. I understood. She feared I might tempt Andrew. But she did not want me dead, not yet. She wanted me alive long enough to watch her rise higher. The stables were her design. In our past life, she had been sent there. The work was brutal. Horses were fierce and untamed. To protect herself, Emily had starved them. A colt died. The horse belonged to a princess. Emily's face was scarred in punishment. Later, Andrew made her kneel as my mounting stool. That was when she snapped and drove a spur into my throat. This time, our places had switched. She was the consort. I was the slave. "Raise the white colt poorly," Emily said as she left me, "and you will learn what it feels like to be beaten until your skin breaks." She walked away, leaving me in the stable. The horse nearest to me was Snow White, stamping and tossing its head, breath steaming in the cold. I knew at once it was the snow dragon, the princess's most prized steed. It was wild, almost impossible to tame. Emily believed I would die under its hooves. But she did not know. My mother had once worked in the royal menagerie. She had taught me how to tame beasts. For me, taming a horse was no hardship at all. Chapter 4: The Snow Dragon. By the second month of training the Snow Dragon colt, Emily came again to the stables. By now she was already the most favored consort by Andrew's side. Women of his people were bold and fiery, but we southern girls were softer, like silk, gentle and delicate. Andrew craved that difference, and Emily was indeed beautiful. Raised by the emperor and empress, she had been bathed each day in rose water, perfumed with jasmine oils, her skin polished to a glow more radiant than jade. Slaves hurried to place a cushioned stool for her. She sat down with a smile. "Come, massage my feet." I moved a little too slowly, and her eyes narrowed. At once, one of her attendants struck me with a whip. Another girl, working in the stables with me, rushed forward crying, "We are all sisters. Princess Emily, why treat her so cruelly?" The words had barely left her lips when the whip cracked across her back. She was only 13, the youngest daughter of a scholar's family. Frail and often sick, she fainted at once from the blow. I caught her as she fell, then walked over to Emily. "If the lady commands me to massage her feet, then I shall. Tell me if my strength is right. If not, punish me as you will, but why harm another?" Emily laughed, sweet and cruel. She pressed her foot under my chin, lifting my face. In a voice only I could hear, she whispered, "See, sister, in this life, your fate is still to serve me." In our past life, Andrew had ordered Emily, then a slave, to kneel and serve as my mounting stool. That humiliation had burned deepest in her heart. She could not accept that the sister she scorned had risen above her. In this life, she would make me pay. I lowered my voice. "It is natural you are angry with me. You may take your revenge. But think, my lady, shouldn't our hatred be for the true enemy?" Emily snorted. "Do you think I don't know? If Andrew's people had not attacked, I would still live in silk instead of sand. But father is dead. My brother is dead. Our generals are dead. Even the commander of the guards is dead. If men could not protect our kingdom, how could I? I am just a princess. Keeping myself alive is already hard enough. Father and mother would only wish for my happiness." Her eyes glittered as she leaned closer. "But I stole your place as Andrew's consort. Do you not hate me?" I shook my head. I truly did not, at least not for that. Being Andrew's favored concubine was no blessing. In my last life, he had doted on me for 3 short months. Then he married daughters of the western tribes, one after another. They fought bitterly for the title of queen, each backed by clans of the 16 tribes. I had no family left to support me. His love became my curse. Even had Emily not killed me, I would have died anyway, poisoned by one tribe, bewitched by another. But Emily would never believe it. She studied my face, her smile sharp. "You inherited your maid mother's beauty. Even if Andrew favors me now, if he ever looked at you again, I could not endure it." Her voice rose. "Guards, scar her face. Leave not a single inch untouched." The cold edge of a knife pressed against my skin. I closed my eyes and prayed silently. It should be soon. Yes, she should be arriving soon. The blade lifted to strike. At that instant, the thunder of hooves broke through. A black stallion galloped in, bearing a woman in blazing red. "The princess of the western tribes, Lady Margaret, has arrived." At last, she was here. Chapter 5: The Red Princess. The announcement made Emily's face change at once. In both past life and present, she feared Margaret. Even as Andrew's most beloved consort, Emily did not dare offend her. For Margaret's mother had been killed by Andrew's mother years ago. Since then, though Andrew was heir to the throne, Margaret never once gave him her respect. Emily sprang up, leaving quickly through the side door to avoid meeting her. Yet as she left, she cast me a smile, as if to say, "Your torment has only just begun." After all, she had not seen the snow dragon colt in the stables. She must have thought I had starved it to death. Margaret strode into the stable, her steps sharp. She looked around. When she saw no snow dragon, her face turned cold. "Where is the stable slave?" The attendants dragged me forward and threw me at her feet. She looked down. "You are Southern?" "Yes, my lady." "Where is my snow dragon?" "I set it free." Her eyes widened. "You released it?" Her voice shook with rage. "That horse cost me 6,000 pieces of silver. Who gave you the right?" The attendants looked at me with pity. They thought me dead already, but I lifted my head calmly. "Please, follow me, princess." Perhaps it was my steady voice, so rare in a slave, but Margaret did follow. "Your Highness," I said, "the snow dragon was born from wild stock. Its spirit cannot be broken. Locked in a stall, it would refuse food and water and die within half a month. Only by letting it run free could it survive." Margaret laughed bitterly. "So I spent 6,000 silver only for you to release it? Do you think you earn merit for the next life by ruining mine in this one?" Before she could say more, I pressed 2 fingers to my lips and whistled. A moment later, across the plain, a white shape appeared. The snow dragon came galloping, mane like silk, hooves pounding like thunder. Margaret's eyes widened. The horse charged straight to me. I leapt into the saddle. "Hiya!" It surged forward, and I guided it, circling the field 3 times. Every command I gave, the snow dragon obeyed. Margaret's eyes grew larger with each lap. At last, I reined the horse in, slid to the ground and bowed low before her. "The horse is trained. It awaits only your command." Her gaze on me was different now. "What are you, Southern girl?" "I am Alice, daughter of the late king." Her eyes narrowed. "So you are a princess." "You ride well," she said slowly. "Do you dare race me?" "As you command." 15 minutes later we dismounted, both drenched in sweat. Margaret panted. You actually beat me." I wiped my brow. "The Princess of the West rides with great skill. My victory was hard won." For a moment she stared. Then she laughed. "Among all the 16 tribes, you are the only one bold enough to beat me." Her smile lingered as she mounted again. "Tomorrow, bring the snow dragon here. Wait for me." Chapter 6. 10 races and 1 offer. Over the next half-month I raced Margaret 10 times. Sometimes she won. Sometimes I did. As rewards, she sent me medicine, food, even small pieces of silver and gold. I passed everything on to the other slave girls. "Thank you for the prince's kindness," I said. Margaret lifted my chin with the tip of her riding whip. "The kindness I can give you is far more than this." She looked straight at me. "Alice, do you want to become my brother Andrew's concubine?" For a slave, there could hardly be a better offer. A slave did the hardest work, ate sour leftovers, and risked a beating for the smallest mistake. A concubine, even one out of favor, had servants, fine clothes, and good food. Margaret waited for me to fall to my knees in gratitude. "I don't," I said, calm and steady. Her eyes filled with puzzled light. "Then what do you want?" I met her gaze. The wide sky and slow clouds of the steppe shone in both our eyes. After a long silence, I spoke so only she and I could hear. "I want to serve you. I want to help you rise." Chapter 7. A Dangerous Truth. At first Margaret did not understand me, only for a heartbeat. Then her face changed. She had understood. "Absurd," she snapped. I did not move. I held to the thought that had guided me since the day I woke in this second life. In this world, Margaret was the one person I must win to my side. After I was taken north, I learned that Andrew's brothers were mostly dull. He had, however, a brilliant sister. Margaret was born to rank, the only daughter of the King of the West and the Grand Princess of a neighboring realm. She had grown up in the army under her grandfather's eye, reading the books of the Central Plains, learning letters and law, and riding with a blade in her hand. In my past life, when I was Andrew's favorite, I had tried to befriend her. She never trusted me. She thought I was Andrew's spy and kept her heart closed. But in this life, I was still a slave with no camp and no shield. Andrew's favor would not save me. Only standing with Margaret could lead to the hope of restoring my home. "Princess," I said softly, "in birth and in talent, you do not fall behind your brother Andrew. You are your grandfather's granddaughter." The finest cavalry of the West was your mother's dowry. Since your mother's death, that army has been under Andrew's command. In a few years, he will choose a vassal kingdom and marry you away. He will keep your mother's troops and take the throne of the world. You will go down in the records as a nameless princess sent to make peace. Are you willing to accept that? Margaret's face grew darker and darker. Enough, she cut in at last. Be silent. Alice, are you trying to set brother against sister? Do you know that any single sentence you just spoke is enough to have you killed 100 times? She wheeled her horse and rode off without looking back. I stayed where I was and let a small smile rise. Yes, I had said things that could kill me 100 times over. But she had not killed me. That was enough to know. My words had struck her heart. Chapter 8. The Birthday Feast. Half a month passed in a breath. Soon it was Andrew's birthday, marked with a great feast. A palace official, eager to please him, gathered the southern slave girls and commanded us to rehearse a famous river dance from our homeland. It would be performed that night to delight the prince. Many girls refused. He killed our fathers, they cried. He destroyed our country. We will not dance for him. The official's face went cold. Disobey, and I will have you whipped to death and thrown to the dogs. I stepped forward at once and slipped a piece of gold into his hand. Do not be angry, my lord. They are young and clumsy. They cannot dance. I do not boast, I added with a small bow. But in the capital of the South there was no one who danced the river dance better than I. The official beamed and dropped the matter with the others. Then you will perform. Prepare well, and you will be rewarded if the prince is pleased. Before the feast, he sent me a cloud-patterned dress and a pair of brocade dancing shoes. If you win the prince's favor, he said, your good fortune will be great. When he left, the stable girl who worked beside me helped me dress. She was the only daughter of Minister Lee, taught from childhood by her father and brothers in poetry and strategy. In the capital, they had called her the most talented girl of our city. Months in the stables had left her thin as a reed, more bone than flesh. She could hardly stand, yet her eyes filled when she looked at me. Princess Alice, she whispered, you were born a jewel of the palace, and now you must dance to protect us. I smiled and patted her head. Don't cry. We won't live like this much longer. Tonight I told myself something must change. She thought I was only comforting her. Still weeping, she knelt to help me put on the brocade shoes. The moment my foot slid inside, pain shot through me like lightning. I pulled my foot out. A long silver needle lay hidden in the toe, its tip bright, now stained in my blood. The girl gasped. This is Emily, I said through my teeth. My sister knew I would dance at Andrew's feast. If I stood before the court and outshone the others, I would become a threat to her. The girl stared at my blood-soaked silk stocking. The cut is deep. Princess, at least let me bind it. No, I said, lifting my skirt. I stood steady on the injured foot. I had worried my entrance would not be striking enough. Now I suppose I should thank her. I took a breath and let it out slow. Pain made each step sharp and clear. Good. Let them all look at me tonight. Let them remember, and let the first door finally open. Chapter 9. The Dance. The music of lutes filled the golden tent, voices rising like a tide. At the highest seat sat the King of the West and his son, Prince Andrew. Beside Andrew, in the honored place of a favored consort, sat Emily. Among the guests, Margaret wore her usual red robes. She drank alone, speaking to no one. I gathered my sleeves, stepped onto the stage, and bowed deeply. Alice of the House of Chu offers this dance to the King of the West and to his heir. Emily's face went white the instant she saw me step forward. Andrew, however, looked at me with interest. The last time he noticed me, I had been a ragged slave, head bowed. I had not drawn his eye. But now, dressed for the stage, he saw my face clearly. Emily was radiant, but I was cool as moonlight. To Andrew, the contrast was fresh and pleasing. Then dance, he said with a smile. If you dance well, you will be rewarded richly. I shook my head. I cannot. Andrew's brows lifted, a spark of irritation in his eyes. Are you toying with me? I bowed my head. This dance must have the sound of a southern zither. Without it, I cannot begin. I have heard that the only one here who plays it is Princess Margaret. Yet I am a slave. I cannot presume to ask her. Andrew chuckled. That is simple, sister. Play for her. Margaret's head snapped up, her voice cut like ice. "Brother, you would have me stand beside a slave to perform?" The whole hall fell silent. Andrew's smile vanished, his eyes darkened, and his face soured. The king raised his hand. "Why ruin your brother's birthday? I myself have never heard you play. Let us enjoy it." The words were plain, he favored Andrew. Margaret's face flushed red, then green, then white. At last, under every eye, she rose and accepted the zither brought by an attendant. Her playing flowed like water. I raised my sleeves and began to move, steps light as drifting clouds. Then, snap! The string broke, her jaw tight with anger. At the same moment, I collapsed to the floor. Blood spread from my shoe, seeping across the floor in a dark circle. "What is this?" Andrew leapt up. I bit my lip. "I am clumsy. I wounded my foot while practicing, yet I wished so much to honor you that I wrapped it and came. I did not expect." Before I finished, Andrew strode forward and swept me into his arms. Emily's face drained of color. Margaret's eyes dimmed, a shadow of something unreadable. She looked at me with a trace of disappointment, sharp as a blade hidden beneath her gaze. Chapter 10. A Lesson in the Tent. That night, I bathed in the golden tent. It was said the slave girl Alice would serve Prince Andrew tonight. The servants whispered that perhaps both southern princesses would become his consorts, a symbol of his triumph. I bathed slowly. The water had long cooled, but I did not rise. I was waiting. This entire performance, every risk, was for one person. If she did not come, all my work was wasted. At last, voices sounded outside. "Salute to the princess." "Leave us," came her command. The curtain lifted. Margaret stepped inside, her brow furrowed like fire. "Alice, are you mocking me?" Her voice trembled with fury. "When I asked if you wanted to be my brother's concubine, you refused, with noble words. I thought you were proud. And now, barely half a month later, you dance to win his favor, dragging me down with you. I misjudged you." I did not hurry. I let the steam swirl around me and smiled. "Did you learn tonight's lesson, princess?" She froze. "What?" I turned my head, my smile gone, eyes cold. "You saw it. In your father's eyes, your worth is little more than that of a dancing girl." Her lips tightened as though pierced by a blade. The hand gripping her whip shook. For an instant I thought she might strike me down. But I had no path left. I was a princess of a dead country. This was my only chance. "Why did your father make you play for Andrew?" I asked softly. "Because you are useless in his eyes. You are a woman. Your fate is to be married away for peace or given to a vassal lord. Your existence is only to please men. Your brother is different. He destroyed my homeland. He holds great military glory. He will inherit the throne, ruling all 16 tribes. So you must please him, flatter him, even though—" I let out a breath, steady as a blade unsheathed. "Even though you are stronger than him in every way." Margaret's grip loosened, her eyes reddened. "Princess," I whispered, "your time to choose is running short. If I lie with Andrew tonight, I become his woman. I will never be yours to trust again." I closed my eyes. "Please, think carefully." Silence pressed in the tent. Then noise swelled outside. Andrew had come. He pushed aside the curtain, frowning. "Why so long?" He glanced at Margaret, his expression half surprise, half displeasure. "Sister, this is no place for you. Leave." Her hands clenched. The 12 golden tents were the most sacred spaces of the West. The king lived in the greatest, Andrew in the second. The rest belonged to tribal chiefs. Women could only enter rolled in furs to serve at night, then be sent away. None could ever be mistress here. Even Margaret, granddaughter of a king hailed as a star of war since childhood, would only live here as someone's wife, bearing children, serving meals. Her glory, her victories, would be dust no one cared to remember. As Andrew reached for me, Margaret's whip cracked down, striking the floor between us. Andrew staggered back, startled. "Are you mad?" Margaret smiled, but in her eyes burned something new. "I want this slave," she said. Her whip pointed at me. "Brother, give her to me. What say you?" Chapter 11. The Exchange. Margaret traded a great eagle bow and a black iron spear to claim me. As we left the golden tent, her maid muttered, "The prince has wanted those treasures for so long, and the princess would never give them. How could she trade them for a slave?" Margaret's eyes turned. Too many words. The maid fell silent. Margaret glanced back at me. "Did you hear, strategist? That bow was my grandfather's gift. I traded it for you. Do not make me regret it." Chapter 12. Emily's News. A few days later, Emily learned I had been taken from Andrew's tent by Margaret. She did not know of the bond between Margaret and me. When she came, her face shone with the glee of someone watching a play. "Well, sister," she said sweetly, "you forced yourself into the feast, even pulled Margaret into playing for you. Now you've angered the she-demon herself. She spoiled your night with Andrew, dragged you to her own tent as a stable slave, and kept you from being his consort." To the world, Margaret still called me a stable girl, but in truth, in private, she called me strategist. She divided her guards into two squads, one led by her, one led by me. Emily knew nothing of this. She stroked her stomach, smiling. "Oh, and some good news. I am with child. If it is a son, he will be Andrew's heir. He may become the next prince of the West." I straightened, my voice even. "You imagine too much. Andrew will soon marry again. Those wives will be daughters of powerful tribes. And you?" I lowered my voice. "You are only a slave from a dead country. A slave's child will have nothing." Her face flushed scarlet. She leapt up. "Silence, you are only jealous. Jealous that I am a consort, jealous of my silks and food." She seized a whip to strike me, but a red sleeve flashed. Margaret caught the whip. Her voice was cool. "In my tent, you strike at my people? Do you think me already dead?" Emily froze. Fear showed in her eyes. She dropped the whip, glared at me with hate, and fled. Margaret sat beside me, tore a roasted leg of lamb in half, and handed me a piece. "Your sister, she doesn't seem raised by the same father." I gave a long sigh. "To be precise, she was raised by my father. I raised myself, the bastard child." "I see." Margaret nodded slowly. "That explains it. She looks more like your late king than you ever did." Chapter 13, Two Paths. After that, Emily and I were both busy. As in my last life, Andrew began taking wives. One after another, noble girls of the western tribes came to him like blossoms in spring. Emily, pregnant and without allies, became their common enemy. She spent her days fighting one rival after another, her strength fading, her beauty wearing thin. While Andrew built his harem, Margaret and I had no rest either. In her tent, by candlelight, we studied late into the night. I spoke of the rulers of the Central Plains, of water that bears a boat but may also overturn it, of the people's heart as the true foundation of empire. She told me of her own truths, of women weeping as they sent husbands to war, of parents wailing when their sons' bodies were returned, of mares licking their dead foals in grief. In the lamplight, I saw a woman who could be a ruler wholly unlike her brother. "Princess Margaret," I asked suddenly, "what is your way of rule?" She blinked, caught off guard. "My way? Your brother's way is conquest, to rule the world by the sword. What of yours?" She was silent for a time. "I do not know," she said at last. "I only wish women like my mother would no longer be married off after defeat. I wish herders could tend their flocks, dance around the fire, not flee in sorrow. I wish parents to grow old with children by their side, wives to grow old with their husbands, children to play without fear." I smiled gently, then bowed low. "Princess, you already know the deepest way of rule. I have nothing left to teach you." Chapter 14, Winds of Change. By September, the autumn wind swept across the grasslands. Two great events shook the West. First, the king fell into a coma. All the tribal chiefs gathered outside the golden tent, awaiting the old king's death and Andrew's rise. Second, Emily lost her child. Whether by poison or scheme, no one could say. Each noblewoman of the 16 tribes had her own methods. In my last life, I could not guard against them. In this life, neither could Emily. She not only miscarried but was poisoned as well. Yet with the king dying and Andrew about to inherit, no one cared. Andrew was too busy to even visit her. I saw her once from afar with Margaret. She was thin as a reed, the wind might topple her. She bit her lip when she saw me. "Alice, have you come to laugh at me? I tell you, Andrew will be king. Even without a child, I am his consort." Margaret and I spared her a single look of pity, then turned away. We had more pressing matters. "The tribe's positions are clear," Margaret whispered. "The Moon Kingdom stands with me. 4 others too. 6 are firmly with Andrew. The rest are small states that follow whichever way the wind blows. Whoever is named in Father's edict, they will obey." I nodded. "If it comes to war, Princess, what are your chances?" Her eyes dimmed. "Half. My soldiers are sharper, and I have the iron shield formation from the Moon Kingdom, but Andrew's numbers are greater." I lowered my voice. "If you want more soldiers, there is a way. We stood in the training ground under the moon. Before us stretched a black sea of cavalry, the riders of the Moon Kingdom, the strongest cavalry in the West. They had been Margaret's mother's dowry. When her mother was killed, the command seal passed to Andrew. Yet he could not truly lead them. Only Margaret could. They needed no seal. They obeyed their princess. All of the Moon Kingdom cavalry are here, Margaret whispered. But the rest belonged to Andrew. Who else in this city would support me? Then she froze, her eyes wide. I looked at her and spoke the word softly. The Southerners. From the shadows they came. One by one, slaves stepped into the moonlight, forming ranks. 8,000 Southern slaves lived in this city. Silent, steady, their presence filled the night with hidden power. Margaret's eyes brimmed red. Even if there are 8,000, what of generals? Your Southern generals were all slain. She was right. After conquering my homeland, Andrew had executed every commander so we would never rise again. But I unrolled a register. General Shen's daughter, Clara Shen. Present. Marshal Shai's daughter, Mary Sai. Present. Commander Fu's daughter, Helen Fu. Present. Captain Geng's daughter, Anna Geng. Present. One after another, the daughters of fallen generals knelt in the night. They had lost their fathers and brothers, but their blood carried the legacy. They could ride. They could fight. They could die for their homeland. Do you see, Princess? I whispered. Our generals cannot be killed so easily. Margaret lowered her eyes, staring at the kneeling women. When she looked back at me, her voice was steady. Alice, you and your people, you have not disappointed me. Chapter 15. Signs in the Sky. That night, the sky changed. A 9-tailed sacred bird, the omen of the tribes, circled above Margaret's tent and would not leave. The Grand Seer climbed a high platform with a turtle shell in his hands. He cast the lots, stroked his white beard, and spoke 16 words. The star of the king declines. The star of the woman rises. Heaven grants the right. The princess shall rule. Those words spread through the capital as Margaret and I spurred our horses toward the king's golden tent. In moments we reached the entrance. The chamberlain on duty was dozing. The king had lingered so long between life and death that everyone was exhausted. Our horses' hooves shocked him awake, and a blade touched his throat. Stand aside. The iron cavalry surrounded the tent. Margaret, in her red robes, strode in alone. The king had been half asleep, but our noise woke him. His voice was thin. Who is there? Margaret sat cross-legged at the foot of his bed with a sword across her knees. He stared at her face and whispered, stunned, Nashan? Are you Nashan? Margaret's eyes dimmed. Father, I am Nashan's daughter. Maggie, the king said at last, recognizing her. His tone turned harsh. Why have you come, and with a sword? Have I not told you you are of age to marry? If you do not set aside this fighting nature, your brother cannot arrange a proper match. Margaret smiled. I have come, father, to ask that you pass the throne to me. No one knows how long the king stared, how his shock turned to fury. Wretch, he shouted, hand shaking as he pointed at her. What madness is this? Impossible. You are a woman. You should marry. You cannot become ruler of the 16 tribes. Margaret looked through the tent flap at the moon. She gave a small laugh. Yes, she said. I want to be ruler of the 16 tribes. The king was struck silent. She turned back. I tried to accept my fate, she said quietly. When my mother died, I was 6. I was terrified. I knew no one in this city would protect me. Father and brother treated me like an object. I am a princess, but I could decide nothing for myself. I argued with my brother, but he is the heir. I could never win. Her gaze found mine for a heartbeat, then returned to the bed. But I met someone who made me think again. She smiled once more, soft and stubborn. I decided I should not accept it. If I refuse my fate, there is no turning back. Forgive me, father. She raised a hand. 2 riders stepped forward, lifted the king, and pressed his hand to an edict already written. They sealed it with the jade stamp of the tribes. Thank you for passing the throne, Margaret said, taking the edict. The king struggled for breath, nearly choking on rage. Margaret did not look back. She left the tent. Chapter 16. The Parting. Alice, I have it. She ran out to me, the edict clutched tight. With this, the 5 wavering tribes will accept me. They may not help me, but they will not help Andrew. My chances are near 9. She stopped. I stood at a distance with the snow dragon's reins in my hand. Behind me waited all the southern slaves, each with a horse. "Congratulations, princess," I said softly. "Everything I could do for you is done. When a friend has been walked 1,000 miles, there must be a farewell. Alice, you—" I swung into the saddle and rode. All the Southerners followed. That was the plan. Support Margaret, help her seize power. And on the night when she and Andrew would be forced to fight, when the West tore itself in two, lead our people away. It was our only chance. At last, we were going home. Chapter 17. The Banner of Blood. Emily sat in a wagon and watched fires bloom behind us. Nearly 9,000 Southerners fled in 3 columns. I led the vanguard to clear the road home. The old, the sick, and the children rode in the middle. Our rear guard held the line behind. Emily's wagon was in the center. She barely knew how she had been lifted aboard. The night before, her curse had flared and torn through her. She had begged Andrew to come one last time. He came, looked once at her thin, yellowed face, lost all interest, and walked away to his new bride. A chamberlain whispered as he left, "My lord, this will break Lady Emily's heart. She is a princess of the South. If she runs to another land and speaks ill of us." Andrew gave a cold laugh. Run? A house-fed little dog? Where would she go? Half an hour later, the city roared with battle. Messengers ran in panic. First they said Princess Margaret had risen in revolt. Then they said the Southerners had risen. Emily could not tell who had rebelled. In her pain she fainted, and when she woke she was already 300 miles from the city. She learned the truth by pieces. Her sister Alice had backed Margaret's move. While the siblings fought, Alice led the survivors of the South out of the West. One thing Emily did not understand, why Alice had taken her along. After 2 lives of hatred, not killing her was kindness enough. Why save her? Perhaps Alice feared leaving a royal kinswoman behind would bring shame to our people later. Perhaps that was all. The shouting grew closer. Screams tore the air. Blood spattered the road. A scout arrived. "Andrew and Margaret have a temporary truce. They joined to chase us." The riders closed in. Our rear guard was nearly gone. Next, they would strike the wagons. The sick girl from Minister Lee's house, 13 years old, the one Emily had whipped in the stable, drew a short sword. "Listen," she said. "If this continues, we will all die. We must stop Andrew's men here. There is a narrow valley ahead. I will wedge the wagon in the throat and block them. You run forward. Find Princess Alice." Emily stared. "And you?" "Someone must hold them," the girl said. "My father taught me a little sword work." The wagon rattled nearer the pass. Tears filled Emily's eyes. "My father." "Do not cry," the girl said. "I am not trying to protect you. I am protecting the House of Chu. My father committed a great crime. Your grandfather saved him." "Grandfather?" Emily whispered. "Yes. Since then, my father taught me we serve the South to our last breath." Emily looked at the sword and heard, at last, my old words. A princess eats the people's grain. In danger, she bears a princess's duty. She had never understood. Perhaps it was already too late. She flung open the curtain and leapt from the wagon. The girl lunged to catch her hem and missed. "Go find Alice," Emily said softly. "Tell her, thank you. And in the next life, we will not be sisters." The wagon raced on. Emily turned and walked toward the oncoming army, one step at a time. She wanted to go home too, but she could not. Bodies of Southerners lay along the road. Like her, they would never return. She found a riderless horse and a bow lying in the dust. The pursuers crested the ridge, a black flood of men and steel. Many soldiers saw her, but did not shoot. She wore a noblewoman's robe of the West. They feared killing a lady of their own court. Emily mounted. She took the bow and drove the horse straight at the army. She could ride. She could shoot. In the palace she had had the best teachers, but she had used those skills only for polo, for rabbits in the royal park, for games and laughter. Never for anything that mattered. This was her last chance to be a true princess. Andrew stood at the front, watching a lone rider charge through dust and light. He smiled. So she returns. The Southerners would not have her either. Like a spoiled house pet who runs away and crawls back, Emily came closer. Her hem snapped in the wind. Blood streaked her face and made it strangely beautiful. She drew and knocked. Andrew blinked. The arrow pointed at him. Before anyone could react, the arrow flew and buried itself in his eye. Emily laughed. She tore off her Westland robe and threw over her shoulders a torn battle flag of the South. "I am Princess Emily of the South," she cried to the sea of enemies. Andrew clutched his face and screamed, "Kill her! A storm of arrows fell. Emily lifted her head. She saw nothing now, only the garden of our old palace. A small girl offered her a sweet rice cake. "Who are you?" Emily had asked. "I am your sister." The girl said. "See, sister, I did not lose to you." The soldiers of the West stared shaken as the figure before them stood, pinned by 1,000 arrows, and would not fall. Emily of the South, only daughter of the last king and his queen, had been spoiled and foolish, a moth in the grain. But in death she was a princess at last. She killed the West's commander in front of his army and died in the chaos, 16 years old. Chapter 18. Firelight. The Lee girl brought me the news. I stood by the window for a long time without moving. At last a deputy hurried in. "Princess, Andrew is badly wounded. His ranks waver. They will not pursue farther." "But 100 miles ahead," he said. "The iron cavalry blocks our road." I understood. "Margaret." The Lee girl's face was ashen. "Her troops are sharper than Andrew's. We have lost nearly half our people on the road. If we meet the iron cavalry—" I knew what she could not finish. My people stood up one by one. "Princess, we are not afraid," someone said. "We do not regret leaving with you," said another. "Even if most of us die, some will go home." That last night, we lit great fires. We sang the songs of the South and danced our old dances. We traded small keepsakes and made a vow. Whoever reached home would place the other's tokens on their family graves. A messenger came running. "Princess, Margaret is here." Chapter 19. Two Rulers. We met. In war, kings do not parley in person. But Margaret came alone. We stood together on a rocky rise. Below us, my people sang and danced in the firelight. "These are the last Southerners?" she asked. "They are," I said. "Too few," she murmured. "Too few," I agreed. "Your iron cavalry could swallow us without effort, but so long as one Southerner lives, the South has not died." She laughed softly. "Alice, do you think I rode 800 miles through the night to crush you?" "No, I came to see you once more." I lifted my eyes to hers. "My brother is not dead," she said. "He has one eye and 8 tribes. For years to come, he and I will fight. I have much to learn from you. In war I surpass you, but in rule you surpass me. And I told you before, I am not my brother. Rather than seize the South and turn it into an empty land with no living souls, I would rather there remain a place of bridges and streams, pastries and tea, zithers and poems." She smiled and clapped my shoulder. "Alice, I will say it again, do not disappoint me." Chapter 20. Two Empires, Two Springs. The West withdrew. Margaret, forever in red, fled as swiftly as she came. She rode 1,000 miles back to the capital, held the dead king's edict and the seer's omen high, and became the first crowned empress of the West. Her brother Andrew declared himself emperor in the northern court. Brother and sister split the land, south and north. 2 years later, Andrew's wounded eye rotted. No medicine could save him. He died in pain. Margaret took his tribes and united all 16 under her rule. That same spring, after 3 years of rest and rebuilding, I, Regent Princess Alice, took the throne of the South. I was the first empress in our history. I made Li Shijin my chancellor. Clara Shen, general of chariots and cavalry. Mary Shai, grand marshal. Helen Fu, commander of the city gates. Anna Geng, captain of the vanguard. I granted Emily the title protector princess and buried her with honor in a tomb of clothes and crown. For 100 years after, the two empires never met again face to face. But we opened roads for trade. We shared knowledge and craft. The West sold horses and cattle. The South sold tea and silk. The people prospered. The rivers ran clear, and peace lay over the world like spring.